Welcome to the War Eagle Radio Network for Talons Out Live, presented by Rogers Hydrant Services. Coming to you live from West Carroll High School's War Eagle Team Night. Talons Out Live takes you in-depth and behind the scenes with West Carroll War Eagles head coach Clayton Morris, with stats, comments, and a breakdown of the previous game, plus a look ahead in the schedule. We'll sit down weekly with special guests and even a senior spotlight player. Now let's get this show started from the high school cafeteria stage. This is Talons Out Live. Welcome one and all to Talons Out Live, presented by Rogers Hydrant Service here at Team Night at West Carroll High School. I'll take the little banner off, and there, unlike last week, we have our team behind us, and they are chowing down on some good old-fashioned lasagna. They've had their speaker from First Baptist in Milan here, and that was some good words to hear from him. So, hey, y'all can chime in, you can wave, you can do whatever. Y'all cheer it up. So they're too busy stuffing their face already, I do believe. So, but that's all right. So they've had some good lasagna, some good dessert, and everything's getting squared away. This is Talons Out Live, presented by Rogers Hydrant Service. Remember, they have hydrant flow testing, flushing repairs, valve operation, hydrant painting, GPS mapping, backflow device testing and repair, water main repairs. Call Tim Rogers or Joey Cherry at 731-662-3700 or visit online at rogershydrantservice.com. Rogers Hydrant Service Incorporated, they have 125 years of combined experience in the water treatment and distribution. They know H2O. And my fearless co-host, Mr. Adam Welch. How are you tonight, sir?
Doing great. How are you?
I am finer than frog hair split four ways, and I think that's pretty daggum fine, ain't it?
Sounds like it.
The coach of the year, the coach of the century, Coach Morris. How are you tonight, brother?
I'm doing okay. How about y'all?
I'm doing well. Had some good stuff, good speaker. Everything's going good for the team night so far, and it's the story that he told, man. That was some cool stuff. That was awesome. He was telling about the kind of bring the folks in. He was telling about a football team for the
York Fire
firemen.
Department.
Yeah, and how he's trying to collect helmets, throughout everything, and they sent him one of those helmets, and that was a really, really cool piece that he showed and was able to get his hands on. So talk about him real quick and kind of some of the things that he talked about for us just a minute ago, and how that kind of touched you just like it did anybody else.
Well, he tied it into sacrifice, and made it personal with the actual firefighter that wore that helmet and that lost his life at 9/11 in the second tower, I believe, with the story going in to save other firefighters. So we kind of tied it all into sacrifice, and which is, very important when you're playing a team sport. He said, lay down your life. No, that's not what we're talking about. But are you willing to sacrifice doing the things right? Go home and go to bed and eat. And he talked about, not doing things that you shouldn't do as far as taking unnecessary risk with your health, driving too fast, all those things. Are you willing to sacrifice for the team and do what's for the best for the team? And so to be able to tie all that in together and have that piece of awesome history really is what it is. That's pretty cool. And then I kind of forget, to these kids, 9/11 doesn't mean what it means to us. I was telling some of the seniors over there, and I can remember where I was on 9/11 and when I heard it, and my thoughts and everything else, and it's as plain as day. And so, going down memory lane with that and him able to tie it in. So I thought that was really cool, and we appreciate Brother Bill being here and doing that for us.
And like you said, it don't matter, where you were at, who you were with. If you went through that scenario in those days, you know exactly where you were. You know exactly what was going on. And, you think, man, some of these youngsters, that's not something you want someone to actually live through, but you don't realize it until they're like, oh, wow, they're so young, they ain't got a clue. They don't even know. And, even like with my son, he's 12 years old. I've tried to take him back and, show him some things, show him some of the things that were, that went on that day, some of the documentaries, this and that. I've kind of carried him back to that day and tried to help him understand and help him explain it. And, he seemed like he understood kind of what was going on and understood the things, but you don't really think about that thing, whenever it comes down to to folks that are that young or whatever. So one of the things that I wanted to do on this show, and I wanted to do it last week, but I want to do it right here in front of your players, in front of your team,
Uh-oh.
in front of your family. It's nothing crazy, but hopefully they're listening and they can kind of chime in on this as well, and
It'll
give
be
you
something crazy.
no, it's not going to be
It'll
anything
something
crazy. It's not going to be anything crazy. But one of the things that I wanted to talk with you about and tell you is, of course, this is year number 3 for you,
Mm-hmm.
and I already see that it's going to be a good year. I really feel it
Don't jinx it, Jonathan.
deep in my heart. I'm not trying to jinx it, but the heart, the drive, the compassion, and the dedication from you, I mean, it's like no other. I think you have instilled growth in this team. You have instilled the family in this community. And when they hired you, they were looking for a coach. And I'm going to tell you right now, I felt like we got so much more than just a football coach. We got a leader, we got a driver, we got a man of God that allows that to show and spill over to everyone across the board, throughout the community, throughout the football team, booster clubs, whoever. And there may be parents that think differently about the way you're doing things. But they're not at practice. They don't see how their kid may be performing or not performing or whatever. And your job is to lead success. And the rest can't be held back by one player, one parent, one mentality, no matter what. These players need you on and off the field. And I believe that they want that drive. These players, they want that drive and that tenacity from you. And I promise you, Coach, there may be times that you think that they're not, but this team is behind you, and this community is behind you 100% all the way. I know there's times that it may not seem that way, but I'm going to tell you right now, everybody is behind you, and you have done an excellent job so far showing and giving that drive and showing that community that you're here and you mean business.
Well, I appreciate that, and that's I don't, I don't know what to say to follow that up, but I will say this: it's not, I can't do it on my own. I've always talked about I've got great assistant coaches, and they, especially over the last year and a half, they have definitely earned their paychecks, and they have done a phenomenal job. And you're only as good of a head coach as the staff you have around you, and I have an excellent staff, and then. The Booster Club has gone above and beyond this past year and a half to 2 years to continue to push this vision that I have and I have had of getting more community involvement. How can we get more community involvement? Not just parents and relatives, but how can we reach out to the whole West Carroll community, and what's some different things we can do? And we're finally starting to see some of those things happen this year. And so, it's a process. When I got the job, I had a lot of ideas and a lot of different things that I wanted to do, and then got hit real quick that, man, there's just not enough time to make it all happen. It takes a little bit more planning than you think, and an idea is great in your head. And so you blink in your year 3, you're like, man, I still got this thing that I wanted to do 3 years ago. We hadn't done it yet, kind of like the hero night. I always wanted to do something along those lines, and we finally made that happen with the help of the Booster Club. So it's not just me. It's really not. It's there's a lot of people behind the scenes, even behind me, and even my family, that make this go. It's so the thanks. Of course, we love what we do here. My family loves it here. But I'm very, very grateful to have the people that I have to help boost and do for our kids and our program, and just try to put back into them and let them see that there's a lot of people that want them to succeed, not just in the wins and loss columns. Of course we want to win, and we don't want to lose, but there's more to it than that, and so I really feel like that they're starting to buy into that. So I would like to tell you thank you to all those that help. Man, we could take up a whole show going down the list and naming names, but it's not just me. There's a lot of people that make this happen, and I don't do a great enough job of thanking them, but it's not possible. One person can't do what we're doing by themselves.
It's a lot of pieces to the puzzle.
It is.
That equals a puzzle.
It is. But thank you for your words, Jonathan. I do appreciate it.
And like I said, I just wanted you to know and you to understand, there's going to be those times where you may not feel what's wanted, or you may not feel backed. You may not feel that the community is 100% behind you, but I guarantee you they are, and I
Well,
know they are from things that you hear.
And I'm going to throw in
things
one real quick thing.
Yeah.
Doubted is a word I want to use. I mean, I'm an official. I know what it's like. I'm a basketball official. Coaches and officials, we get it.
Yeah.
You're going to be doubted. I mean,
Well, and then I keep this in mind, and there was one quote from a coach that I worked with back at Murray before I took this job, and me and him butted heads a lot. He grew me, Coach Bloodworth. He's from South Fulton. He's still up there coaching now as a line coach, and he's really good with the line. Like you name the technique and the scheme, he's coached it over the years. But he used to always say, and he said, as a young coach, you have to learn this. Even if you win a state title with an undefeated season, you're still going to have 10 people not happy with you.
Yeah.
And that's hard for me because my wife will tell you I want people to like not just me, but what it is we're doing. I want them to, to feel like it's valued and that's a weakness of mine because I do care and I do have, bleed into my emotions and what I do and my family bleeds into us. But at the end of the day, I'm having to work and say, okay, I think I'm making the best decisions.
Yeah.
And I don't always do, but I tell the kids, let me be wrong. It's my job to be wrong. I'll make the decision. And if I'm wrong, we'll punt and we'll pivot and we'll move on and we'll learn from it. And so, but yeah, it's I try to keep that. I wish I could put it on a t-shirt. I might someday, but he had a lot of wisdom, but he did say that you can have the perfect season and make the perfect calls on everything and win the state title, and you'll still have 10 people upset with what you did. So
yeah,
good point.
You really never know. So, all right, well, let's just dive right into it. 45-22 victory, and I can tell you one thing: the freshmen. I know you're probably going to bring that up at some point.
Don't go too deep.
The freshmen showed out last week.
I've got a lot of stuff.
My goodness.
Oh.
So let's dive right into it. Let's take a look back at last week, a 45-22 victory at Gibson County. Let's talk about some of them standout plays and some of the moments that you really seen, Adam, that was kind of a showcase, I guess, for West Carroll.
Well, I've got it as question one. So since you brought it up, it worked out good. So we'll go ahead and talk about because it was question one on my list. The freshmen, Darian, Zach, Jace.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they made a big impact in the game. Of course, Zach, obviously, quarterback position, and with the 3 interceptions combined between Darian and Jace. Are you hoping that you always hear the phrase? Everybody likes to use this on the media, even on ESPN. The future. That's what everybody wants to say. The future. Are you hoping that the future is now for this team? Because you still got 2 more games after starting. You've got Harding Academy, and then you've got FACS before you get into region play. Are you hoping this is a way to groom these freshmen in these games, or are you just kind of playing it? Obviously, I know you're playing it game by game.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever a plan to try to groom freshmen, especially when you have the depth that we have. You just kind of got to roll with what you have and who can go where. And we knew these freshmen could come in and play roles for us from the bat. I mean, they had a successful season with Coach Mims last year in 8th grade and did a lot of things I don't think anybody was really expecting them to do. And they just play hard and they show up and they're coachable and they'll do whatever's needed. And so for them to be able to go in there to their first high school game and not just play, but play very meaningful minutes. It's one thing to play, and it's another thing to play meaningful minutes, and then it's another thing to contribute in meaningful minutes. And they were able to do those things, and that's not a fluke. I mean, that's just a product of who they are and what they've done and the capability that they have. And it was 2 of the 3 interceptions. Preston Bosley had one of them, which was, again, another underclassman.
Yes,
he's a junior. So,
that's right.
I think the future is bright, but they're going to have to contribute now. They can't wait to hold off to the future. They've got to contribute to what it is now, and I think you saw that they can. And it's always exciting when you have underclassmen that are able to step up and do roles that they did on this past Friday at Gibson County.
And one thing you was talking about the freshmen, the underclassmen, like I think it was Jace Hammett.
Yep, Jace.
One time, I mean, absolutely out of nowhere, just come down with that interception, and I was like, "Whoa!" Yes, we recognize them in the junior high, as especially in that 8th grade class. Yeah, we recognized them. We knew that they were something special, but then you look up and you're like, oh, dang, I didn't even think about Jace Hammond. And all of a sudden he's got a big interception and boom, and he pulls it down and makes it happen.
Well, and it's a different. It's the speed of the game, and then the size of the kids, and the speed at which they play. It's all different for them. So you never really know how freshmen are going to handle that, and they will have their lumps. Don't get me wrong. Freshmen always have their lumps, and so it's going to happen, And at some point we're going to play some really good teams. But I thought for their first taste of a full high school game against some some big kids. Gibson County had some big kids. They had some fast kids. They had some good-looking kids, and I thought that they just went toe-to-toe, and they didn't back away from it, which they never have from day one. They have not backed away from anything, and you forget that they are freshmen. I don't think about that when they're in there. I just think about what can they not, or what can they do, what can they not do, and that's a great way to be when you're thinking about, okay, who can go in now and spell this person.
Right.
Talk about responding to challenges. You had a stretch there right before the half is where I'm talking about here, where you could not put the ball in the end zone. You were trying. It looked like it was hard to tell. I'll be honest. I couldn't remember if you had any timeouts or not. I didn't think you did, is why you didn't use the one. So that's what I figured. And it looked like you was doing the best you can to try to, hurry up. You've got a freshman quarterback. I know millions of things are running through everybody's mind. It's the first game. Talk about, though, how you couldn't capitalize. But it seemed like when your team come out in the third quarter, it responded. And I was impressed with that. They didn't seem to let that affect them as they went into the third quarter.
Boy, we didn't do a lot of good things first half. I know we had scored some things, and we had some good moments. But as far as being continuously good in the first half, we really weren't. And we weren't clicking. We had to waste a timeout early because of substitution problems.
Remember that.
And then not getting the right people where they needed to be. And it just, we talked about last week about being mentally dialed in and being as clean as possible for game one. And we weren't in the first half. We went up, I think it was 15-6. And then we turn around and kick it off, and they returned it 97 yards for a touchdown. And they grabbed momentum right back. I mean, so, all the things that we talked about of being good at, we just were not able to do in the first half. And then halftime, we had a little bit of a gut check. I mean, we did. We had to gut check ourselves, not just as one or two individuals, but as a team, and really say, hey, we're bickering amongst ourselves right now. How can we take on an opponent when we're bickering amongst ourselves about what we are and what we're not doing? And we've got to fix this, because if not, then we'll look and we'll reflect on this game, and whether we win or lose this game is going to be how we play as a team. And they responded so well to that the second half. One thing that pops out to me in the second half, yes, we won and we dominated in a lot of ways, but it looked like our kids were having fun with each other.
Right.
They were having fun to play the game again. The first half, I didn't see a whole lot of fun. I saw a lot of surviving and bickering.
That's a good
in the second half, it was just fun. They were having fun. And man, once it got going, it got going. And that's how important it is right now, this front half of the season, to get to the second half as healthy as you can, be in the ball game. There wasn't any magical adjustments that were made. I know everybody talks about, man, the adjustments y'all did was great. No, it was really, we're doing the same thing we're trying to do in the first half. We're just finally blocking it up, right? And everybody was finally on the same wavelength, and defense was finally getting the right calls in to formations that we're getting. So it wasn't a magical thing we drew up on the board. It was just, hey, let's get back to doing what we do together and fighting together, and things are going to be okay. And it ended up being the case.
And one of the crazy things, and Adam can probably remember me even saying it on the broadcast, when we were in the first half, it was kind of, we scored, they scored, we scored, they scored, and it seemed like it was going fairly quickly, even though it was like a struggle in some senses. But I even looked at them and I'm like, man, this could be a high-scoring affair, big time. And then all of a sudden it was like middle of the first quarter, it kind of become a stalemate. In the whole second quarter, it was kind of a stalemate between the two teams. And then, like you said, coming out of the second half, it was something totally different.
Well, and I go back to this. And again, Gibson County capitalized on situations that we gave them. Yeah. We muffed the punt. First punt, gave them their first offensive series inside the 10. I mean, you better score there. Like you almost give them that. And then you turn around and like I said, we claw back. We put two scores in to go. We were down 6-0, and then we end up getting up 15-6, and then momentum is swinging in our favor, and then we kick it off, and we kick it right down the middle of the field to the one person we don't want to kick it to, and he made us pay. And so you take away those two mishaps, the bad punt, the botched punt, and then the bad kickoff return. I mean, you're taking away two scores there, and so it's really not. And And that was a message at halftime. And they're not taking anything away from Gibson County because, my goodness, they've got some good-looking kids.
Yeah.
And they played hard the first half. They were bigger than us. We knew they were going to be bigger than us. We had to outlast them. But
Allen and Barnes, they could
I
handle.
told the kids at halftime, I said, if we will just do what we are supposed to do, I do like where we're at. Because we were down by 1 score, and we played one of the worst halves I've ever seen us play. And we were down 6 points. And so, that was encouraging in a really bad way, but we were able to get it fixed, and the kids were able, they were able to come together and have fun again.
Jade Milton, touchdown runs of 67, 62, 38, 37, and 17. 5 touchdowns total. What can you say? I mean, it's a team effort. The offensive line, you got to give them some credit, obviously.
Yes. Well, you got to give some credit to them, and then also Nate Wyckoff playing in there in that up back, that ace back position, and getting on that second level and that one unblocked linebacker. And, they did a great job. And, the first half we struggled, especially at the tackle positions, getting our feet right and walling where we needed to wall for that play to be, to break out and go. And we finally were able to kind of get our bearings about us on our old line wise and get it figured out. And we figured out early what they were giving us based off formations, and we saw what we wanted. And Nate was doing a good job getting in there and getting that linebacker. And of course, Jaden following Nate like he's taught to do and making one cut. You get Jaden to the second level, 1-on-1 on somebody, he's going to make most people miss. And when he's shown that this preseason, and he showed it at Gibson County. So, it's great on him for following his blocks. It's great on the offensive line for coming together finally. I mean, you don't rush for almost 300 yards if your offensive line is not working right. I mean, they have to be. And then big blocks by Nate. And I know they don't go in the stat book, but he was asked to 1-on-1 solo some inside linebackers, and that's not an easy job. And he was able to fit in and make that happen and bust those big runs for Jaden.
It seems like Dalen Drassel, he was an impact. It seemed like on both sides of the football. He had 3 tackles on defense. He had a touchdown catch in the game as well of 17 yards. Mm-hmm. Talk about his impact in the game. I thought he was somebody maybe that didn't get – I don't want to say didn't get noticed, but he was noticed by us of just, as I told Jonathan, of what he did, not just on offense but on defense, just the little things it seems like.
We knew that he was going to be one of our bigger playmakers this year. He's I call it twitchy. He's got a little bit of a twitch about him. One thing that a coach said the other day, and this is very interesting. I don't even think I've told him this. That kid is hardly ever off the field. Well, he's really not.
Yeah.
And he is always there. I think there's a couple times. One time his chin strap broke, and we had to get that fixed. And then another time he asked to come out for 1 or 2 plays. He's always on the field. He plays hard. And if we're able to get our screen game going, the bubbles and the now screens on top of what he's already doing with the pass concepts downfield, his stats are only going to get better and better and better, especially if we keep rushing for 300-ish yards a game. I mean, teams are going to begin to do what they did to us the last few years, which is stack the box, hence why we're doing what we're doing now offensively, to be able to spread it out and be able to take those shots like we did with Dalen there against Gibson County. So I think you're only going to see him and the other receivers become more and more and more involved as the season rolls on.
Conditioning. Talk about that. Hydration. Heat and humidity is brutal this week. It's supposed to get up heat index to 110. While we're on that topic, Friday, is it a possibility of moving the game to 7:30 more than likely?
I would be shocked if it's not pushed back.
Okay.
And I've even heard 7:30, and I've even heard 8 o'clock tossed around. And so we're just going to kind of see how the week plays out. I know middle school's already been pushed back to 7:30 on Thursday. That's as late as they'll push the middle school one. If they can't get it in then they'll reschedule the date. So it's I was kind of surprised with some of the cramping that we had going on because it was cooler Friday. We didn't have a whole lot of cramping, but we had 2 or 3 kids that were cramping that don't normally cramp. So, they kind of got a good stern talking to from our trainer, Jonathan, after the game.
Talk about this week, how important that is with these heat indexes.
It's been on the forefront of my mind, and I know it has been our coaches, and I hope it has been our parents and guardians and kids that it's imperative this week. And I think, again, having good assistant coaches around you. One thing Coach Dolan mentioned, I don't even think when he first mentioned it, if you realize what he was mentioning, but you can lose a game in these type of weeks on a Monday and a Tuesday by losing too much sweat and salt and electrolytes and not focusing on replenishing it before you get to Friday.
Makes sense. Yeah.
And so you have to be extremely conscious as coaches of what you're doing with your kids. Yes, there's heat regulations and all that, and that's fine and dandy, but when you play on Friday, it's going to be humid. It's going to be hot. They're going to be sweating. So what are you doing during the week? Are we going to be really conscious about what we're doing, when we're doing it, and how we're doing it to try and not drain our kids? Hey, I'm a routine guy. I love to bang at practice. I love to get after it, pads on, all those things. That's me at my core. But I think there's a lot of truth to say, hey, you can run yourself out of a game before you even get to game day if you're not careful. And I think this week is one of those weeks. So we've taken precautions to try to help our kids. We've given them gallon water jugs today that had some electrolyte drink mixes in it. We fixed them with a heavy dose of electrolyte with some Himalayan salt and water at the end of practice before we left.
Yeah.
What we can do in the gym and pads, we're doing it, but we're not going to the ground, of course. And if there's a moment where we can get outside, even if it's 5-10 minutes, we're in shirt and shorts. Of course, we're no pads outside, and you can't even think about that right now. Right, but if there's a time it gets below that 104, that 90 wet bulb glove, when we can get out for 5 or 10 minutes, just so they're still breathing in that hot air. Because you can be inside, but on Friday they're going to have to play in it. And if you shield them from it all week, then they may lose their breath and never catch it back. So. Yeah. It's constantly looking at the heat index reading. Our little Mr. Douglas did a great job of getting us the Kestrel, wet bulb globe, and so we get accurate readings of where we're at. It's not some cell phone, OSHA app. It's actually where we're at the point. And so, we're being very, very kind of proactive and reactive with it at the same time.
Yeah, you have to be. It's. I mean, this is record heat indexes this week.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. That's all I got for now. Is I don't want to use up too much my questions. I don't have any left.
Well, and one of the next things on the kind of the timeline is talking about your yardage chart. Talking about some of the yards. So let's talk about some of those that had some of the big yards and some of the big plays and such. And then we'll step away and we'll take us a 1 minute break after we talk a little bit about the yardage chart.
Let's go over West Carroll stats. Jaden Milton, 25 carries, 294 yards, 5 touchdowns with a long of 67. It's just huge in the game. You had Dalen Drassel, four carries for 15 yards, and you had Nate Wyckoff, 2 carries for 4 yards. For West Carroll in the game, you look total. West Carroll had 14 first downs to Gibson County's 7. Passing stats, West Carroll 6 out of 13, which was huge, I thought, in the game for 54 yards, 364 total yards for West Carroll compared to Gibson County's 213. I thought that was critical. And this is the one that I've got highlighted here where we already know about the interceptions with 3 total as a team, but penalties. You only had 5. I was very impressed with the passion your team played with, but yet the discipline, I guess is what I'm trying to say, with your team play.
Which has been a focus for us, this offseason. And it'll get tested. Every Friday is a different.
Everyone's different.
Every Friday is a
game's
different game. But I was extremely proud with how we conducted ourselves in a hostile environment and went about business. And there was a couple points in times, and hats off to the officiating crew. They did a great job communicating with me.
Yeah.
There was a couple times we're getting pretty close with some of our body language and different things that we were doing out there on the field, and they did a great job of coming to me and saying, "Hey, coach, you may want to get number such and such," and kind of cool them off a little bit. I can appreciate that, and I can get to them and try to and let them know, like, hey, you're on the radar. If from this point forward, it's on you if you make that decision to do those things. That's exactly right, and so I appreciate that from an officiating crew, and I know our kids do too. But I was extremely proud with how we carried ourselves in that game.
Talk about the secondary. That was at times last year. I don't want to say a question, but
no, it was definitely a question.
At times last year. As well as I do.
We call it what it is.
103 yards. You gave up 6 out of 11. We know about the 3 INTs, but besides that, it seems like I thought the DBs did a good job of keeping them in front of them. Yeah, West Carroll gave up some yards. There's no doubt.
Yes.
But I think staying away from the big play as far as the secondary was huge. Just besides one. I remember the one.
You take away the one there at the end. Gibson County's last score was a wheel route there, and we were in position. You had Drew and Corn were in pretty good position, and they just kind of got their feet tangled up there and weren't able to get a beat on that ball. But No, I think for the most part, you take away that one play, which was probably 60-something yards, if I remember correctly.
67.
So you're at 40 yards through the air, outside of that one play. So with 3 interceptions and then a lot of tackles, not very many missed tackles. So, and the thing that's encouraging is if you sit down and you make a list about those individuals that played in the secondary Friday night, you're going to come up with 7 to 8 different guys and 7 to 8 different names. And that's awesome because you have a lot of different people you can roll in and play those spots and help keep people stay fresh. And that's one thing we're trying to really hammer home to our guys. Like, we have the luxury of having a lot of skilled guys. Let's use that to get through this heat. Let's not rely on one person to get 100 and something reps here. Let's divvy this out. Let's try to make it a little bit more fresh for you. And because it's hard with tunnel vision. You look at a week, but this is a long season, and we need to be as healthy as long as we possibly can. And then if I'm able to take a skill guy who might normally get 60 reps on defense, but I've got 3 guys and I can now splice that or split that up 20-20-20. Then that's less reps on bodies, on legs, and everything else for that kid. And then we can move further into the season is how my mind works with it. So that was very encouraging for our secondary.
Yeah. All right, we're going to step away. We're going to take a quick 1-minute message, and we'll come back, and we'll talk a little bit more about some of the yardage chart, pick out our players of the game, look at some moments from last Friday night. So you're listening to Talons Out Live here on the War Eagle Radio Network.
You know good and well a party ain't a party unless giant inflatable jumpers are involved. Hensley's Inflatable Rentals has you covered with an inflatable bounce house or a 15-foot tall inflatable slide. And better yet, they both can be used wet or dry, whatever your party calls for. Call Big Dave at 731-487-5995 for rental prices and booking. Or visit Hensley's Inflatable Rentals on Facebook to see the offerings and to add the extra fun of inflatables to your next event.
Rogers Hydrant Service Incorporated is a family-owned and operated company located in the heart of West Tennessee. Their business stands on hard work and hands-on customer service. Whether you need hydrant flow testing, flushing and repairs, valve operation, hydrant painting, GPS mapping, backflow device testing and repair, or water main repairs, they're the complete hydrant company to serve all of your hydrant needs. Call Tim Rogers or Joey Cherry at 731-662-3700. Rogers Hydrant Service Incorporated, they know H2O.
Turn down for what? Turn down for what? Turn down for what?
Welcome back live on the War Eagle Radio Network. Talons Out Live, presented by Rogers Hydrant Service. We're here at team night, West Carroll High School. Some of the teams still kind of sticking around, and some of them have filled their bellies up, and they are ready to rock and roll. So we appreciate some of them sticking around with us. And we've even got a senior spotlight player coming up here in just a little bit. But let's talk a little bit more about this yardage chart, and then we'll talk about some of the players of the game. And one thing I want to mention, Adam, I brought us back with turn down for what. I'm going to tell you one thing, especially in that second half, they didn't turn down for nothing. They were absolutely stellar throughout the rest of that night. And that was fun to watch on Friday night. It really was.
Yeah, it was. And team tackling is something that I look at. Nate Wyckoff, 4 unassisted. Then you had Cornelius Cannon, Dalen Drassel, Hayden Ollie, all with 2 tackles. Talk a little bit about Coach Dolan coaching the defense. He does a great job. The fire that he brings. Talk about the team tackling and breaking down and being fundamental.
Yeah, and that's also if we look back the last couple of years I've been here, I think that's one thing we've always said too. Overrunning tackles or missing tackles in space and allowing those mid-range plays to become big plays because of poor tackling. And we had moments where we didn't have great tackling against Gibson County. Definitely not well enough for Coach Dolan's standards, which is one of the things I love about him. He has extremely high standards when it comes to tackling, but I thought tackling wise, because Gibson County presented a lot of different threats with a lot of different possibilities of making you pay. They had some big play guys. The Allen boy, and then the number 7 was really good for them. 31, if they could have got him involved. 44 was a big kid, and so they had a lot of different ways that they could get you kind of on your heels. And so for us to be able to tackle in space, especially on the Allen kid from running back spot, was a testament. And we're going to need that again this week with Hardin Academy coming into town.
Look at some other stats here. We talked about passing, but let's talk about special teams. We haven't talked much about that. We got to. It's just part of it. Some of the kickoffs, hey, booming. The ones
You
in the
know,
end zone, and then the one we had
I
where
know
we
it.
kicked it
I
right
know it.
to
I know it.
Allen. And I even said on the radio, I said, Jonathan, I said, oh no.
I know it.
And
I know
when it
it.
developed and I saw him run, I said, oh, there's a hole there, unfortunately. And I was thinking, oh, no.
And I'm not really sure what him and Jose were saying, but
Yeah.
Jose was not very happy with Manuel on that kick. So yeah, Manuel he's kicking the ball really well right now for somebody that he was out of the country most of the summer, and so he hasn't been in a strength program. It's just kind of natural for him.
It's just natural.
It is, and so he's only going to get better, I think, as long as we take care of him and keep him healthy.
Yeah, because unreal kick.
Yeah, no, I mean he's a weapon. You put it in the end zone in high
That's
school
what I told
football.
Jonathan. You put it in the end
It's a
zone,
weapon.
nothing you can do.
But one thing that we have focused on so far this week, and it's been crazy because we've been inside, but we did drills with it today in the gym and in hallways and different things, is our coverage team. We got to get down the field. When Allen caught that ball and that return for 97 yards, I froze the film, and we had nobody within 37 yards of him.
Yeah.
You give a mediocre ball carrier that much space, and they're going to make you pay. And so we got to do a better job of getting down the field. And it's just an effort thing. It is just kickoff is not a play off. And if you're an underclassman and you're on there, it's your opportunity to kind of show what you got and get going. And so we've got to get better on kickoff coverage. And then, punt. We had that one bad punt. But then punt kind of settled in when we had the punt. Corn did a great job, and our shield did a great job, and getting down there and covering did a great job after the first punt. And I know we'll get into it, but our gate, our 2-point gate that we did there, we're still working on our snaps and our holds, and with Jose getting all that timing down, we're just not 100% comfortable with all of it right now. So we put in Gate, and Coach Dolan and Coach Puckett and Coach Dixon and Coach Taylor just kind of ran with that, and Jaden Milton did a great job of kind of spearheading that. And so I think every time we went gate, it was successful. So, special teams were not perfect as they needed to be. If they were perfect, you take 12 to 14 points off the board. But it definitely could have been a lot worse on special teams.
How important is it, these building blocks and these things, these obstacles, barriers that you talked to me a little bit about this week? How important now is to take that, and I know you've got a great coaching staff, as you mentioned earlier, great assistants to take you into this week and work on some of these things. And it's first game. I mean, it's these things are going to happen, and that. You hope they don't.
Well, and you always say the biggest growth is between game 1 and game 2. And while that is true, they don't ever say that you're going to have a week of record-breaking heat index temps for this, so that throws a monkey wrench into things. But no, one of the things we said Sunday when we came in, of course, Hardin Academy, we'll talk about our Hardin Academy. We'll talk about them in a minute. They're going to present some problems, but we have a lot of things that we have to fix on our own end before we can even worry about
Hardin Academy. Right.
It has to be continual focus on getting better at what we do. I think it's no secret anymore who we are, what we do, what we're going to be, and we have to continue to improve and build on those things. And so, whether you're in the gym or you're in the film room, we've done a lot of film work the last 2 days, and that's mentally taxing on a teenager, having to sit there and watch film and listen to that. I mean, stay focused. And so we've got to find ways to get better when Mother Nature throws us these curveballs, and we can't just say, well, let's throw our hands up and go home. We still have to improve, and we have to be productive in what we're doing.
Yeah. All right, let's the portion that you never liked, but we can have players. It doesn't have to be just one. So let's talk about.
Hey, you've got an S.
I
so
did
it's
have an S.
plural.
We made it plural.
Yeah,
Year 3, we went plural.
Yeah,
that's
plural.
right.
So you can do that. Let's talk about your players of the game. Who really stood out to you, whether it's on both sides of the football or, there's a lot of people that play both sides of the football.
Mm-hmm.
So who's going to be your player or players of the game from Friday night?
We'll start on the offensive side. I'll try to give one for each squad: offense, special teams, and defense. Maybe a few multiples, but of course the big elephant in the room has got to be Jaden Milton breaking out, and not just the stats, but able to break away once he got to the second level against some very fast kids from Gibson County.
That's unbelievable.
When he's fresh, he's just as fast, if not faster, than a lot of people will see. But he can't do that without our offensive line and Nate adding in there as the H-back, getting the blocking scheme right. None of that works if their angles are not right and we don't fit it up the way it's supposed to be. And so yeah, you want to do that because 300 yards and 5 touchdowns is nothing to shake a stick at. But our offensive line and then Nate coming in there and being able to one-on-one ISO those inside linebackers who were decent players for Gibson County.
Yeah.
So they have to be recognized. They have to be. Jaden doesn't do that on his own. And I think on defense, it just keep watching it and keep watching some of the angles he had. And I know it's kind of a quiet night in his standards, but I thought Nate Wyckoff really fit a lot of gaps for us defensively and made some good reads and was around and flew around. And you can go with you got our DBs with the 3 picks, the freshmen doing those things, Bosley coming in and doing some good things, Dalen playing well. Hayden Holly had some sacks. You can go on down the line, but man, some of the times of watching the film, going back and just seeing some of the things that Nate plugged and ran down Allen and on some outside zone things, like
Nate had 7 tackles.
It was really impressive to see that at game 1. He's making reads and fits right now that you typically see in week 7, week 8. He's in week 1, and so he's able to do those things. So I think I'll go there. And then special teams wise, I got to go with Manuel. I know he had one bad kick, but man, if he can continually put it in the end zone, I'm telling y'all, it's a weapon. It is a weapon. It is a weapon.
Football, that's
There's
what I told Jonathan.
A lot less stress on kickoff now. Like if he can consistently put it in the end zone, which I think he will here in a few weeks.
He did that 2 or 3
3
times?
times.
Three
He had 3.
times.
And there was a couple times there was kids playing just past the end zone over there, and he about wiped them out.
I know it.
Like,
so if he's
awesome.
able to do that, guys, it's an
Give him
under
the ball at the 20.
Yeah, that's
all
exactly
day long.
right.
That's what I told him.
100%. So that there we'll close my least favorite segment with that.
Well, and I think we can give, if you want to call it an honorable mention, and like we mentioned that at the first of the show, these freshmen, they come in there and they made an impact. They made an impact on game 1 and a difficult game at that. So I think we give an attaboy to some of the freshman
we can give some
class as well.
attaboys.
Yeah, I like that. So you got anything else there,
No,
Adam?
I don't.
All right,
No.
So weekly injury report. We got any kind of injuries to kind of report?
And again, I every year, I don't think my first year I said this, but at the first of every start of the season of this broadcast, I want to be sure I let everybody know that I don't go into depth with our injury reports because legally I can't.
Yeah.
So we are healthy for the
thing.
most part.
Yeah.
There's a few ankles here and there, a few bumps and bruises here and there, but considering it was a tough game against a very physical Gibson County team,
Nothing major.
Nothing major right now.
That's the key.
Nothing major right now. So we're hoping to be firing on all the cylinders we got come Friday.
All right, so I got a feeling I know what the answer to this next one is, but your zombie trail paintball scary moments in time. What was some of the things that just kind of scared you from Friday night?
The kickoff return that went 97 yards.
I knew he was going to pick that one.
I mean, again, you're on the road in a hostile environment against a team that's bigger than you and has some really good-looking kids. And, yeah, you might be deeper, but you're pulling momentum away from them. I mean, we just went up 15-6, and we had scrapped all first half, and nothing was really going our way. And we're sitting there, and it didn't feel like we were winning, but we were winning. And then, bam, you give momentum right back to them, and you're like, oh man, is this where the floodgates are going to open right before we go into half? I hope not. And so that was for our kids to be able to settle in after that and continue to make it a game, and then not only that, come out in the third and really turn the tide and never look back from that point. But that was, in my mind, that was a very pivotal moment in that game. Gibson County could have ran with that momentum, and we could have folded, and that could have been the point we looked at and said that game shifted there. Yeah. And our kids did not allow that to happen.
Well, and how much growth does that show and maturity does that show for your freshmen? To lose, have 2 touchdowns go against you right before the half, and then come out the third quarter and just, like you said, it was just a totally different team.
Well, this team's already shown growth before we played Gibson County, and I think it's continually going to show growth. We're not perfect. We're not where I want us to be. We still do bonehead things, and that's teenagers. I mean, it's going to happen. But the standard is my standard, and I'm going to keep it there. And but man, they've shown a lot more mental maturity than we've had in years past. And again, they've been asked to do that this offseason. And so from our upper class, from our seniors down to our freshmen, they've been buying into this mindset. So hopefully it continues to bleed over into other games.
Now, I know since Talons Out is a day earlier, you may not always have those moments to really stop and think, but I know you've already had some of the topics picked out from Friday night, and so things to fix. That's our next topic on our timeline. Some of your practice notes, practice topics. What have y'all really focused on this week, and some of the things to fix going forward into Harding Academy this Friday
You know, the
night?
number one thing that we popped up when we were having our coaches meeting and talking on Sunday, and then kind of the message to the kids has got to be our coverage on kickoff, on punt, our cover teams, you know, getting down the field, being in the lanes, wanting to be the guy to get down there first and not taking it as a playoff. And, you know, who says, you know, yeah, Manuel may get it to where he can put it in the end zone every time, but what if he hits one wrong? What if he's kicking into the wind? And you never know when things are going to go. That ball's in the air. We got to get down the field and get down there for when Corn punts or whoever's punting. And that's priority number one. We cannot continue to give easy points. Number two, up front for us, offensive line, communication. You know, we had some breakdowns in communication in especially the first quarter with our O-line, and it showed. It showed our, you know, if our O-line's stagnant, our offense is stagnant, and it was, you know, they just had an issue communicating there, and they got that hammered out. And then, you know, it's not really a schematic thing, but it matters when you're having to waste timeouts. Our substitution policy, you know, not policies, our substitution procedures, you know, getting our sideline to echo things, you know, not just when coach is yelling name. The sidelines need to echo that name, or we call a package, the sideline needs to echo that, so everybody hears it and everybody's on the same page. And now you don't have to burn a timeout in the first quarter that you could have used there going into halftime when you had.
Well, it's the little things.
It is. It catches up to you.
Yeah.
So those are things that have to get fixed moving forward if we're going to continue to be successful.
But rather now than week 6
Again,
or 7.
it's game one.
That's right.
Very much so. All right, we're going to step away. We're going to take a quick 1-minute break. We'll come back with our senior spotlight player tonight, and then we'll kind of interview and talk with him a little bit. And we've got a special guest with us here in just a little bit. So we'll take a 1-minute break. We'll come back. You're listening to Talons Out Live here on the War Eagle Radio Network.
If you're looking for the best in home generators, then look to K-Men Electric in Greenfield, Tennessee for your sales and installation of Generac home and standby generators. Free estimates, licensed and insured. Why sit in the dark during power outages? Life is better with power. K-Men Electric has the experience you need with over 1,000 generators installed. Give them a call today at 731-571-0667.
Would you like to take out the zombie population? Are you ready to wipe out things that walk among the dead? Then the Zombie Trail Paintball in Humboldt is the place for you. 1533 Mason Grove Road in Humboldt. You will board a trailer to travel a mile path through the woods, shooting targets and zombies. Plus they have a corn maze. For more information and to buy tickets, visit zombietrailpaintball.com or check them out on Facebook. Take out the zombies if you dare.
You get to me, you give me that smile, and I'm somewhere sunny and 75. You and me on the beach there, yeah, I'm so there every time I'm.
Welcome back live on the War Eagle Radio Network. Talons Out Live, presented by Rogers Hydrant Service. We appreciate Rogers Hydrant Service coming in and taking care of business, helping out. I played sunny in 75, but it is far from sunny in 75. It's like sunny in 105, you know, here this week. So we've got our senior spotlight player, Mr. Jackson Mims. He has already waved at the camera there. You doing all right tonight, Jackson?
Yeah, I'm doing all right.
Doing good. We're glad to have you. And so let's real quickly, let's kind of talk about this weather and stuff this week. I mean, how is that affecting you personally and some of your players and stuff? I mean, this bad boy is hot this week, and I know that y'all have been doing some serious things about taking care of, you know, the liquids and the electrolytes and things like that. So talk a little bit about that. Like, what is it to you that, you know, is kind of the big deal, I guess, this week with some of this crazy weather?
Well, it's definitely a challenge for the team to acclimate to the weather, because if you're not in full pads outside practicing, you can't get the same amount of work done as you are in the gym. But I think the team is accepting the challenge well. We're in the gym when we can, being focused, working 100%. And when we get the chance outside, when it cools down a little bit, we're outside working in shirts and shorts, getting work done that other teams aren't around here.
You may have to come in and call like a 5 a.m. practice or something. It's still going to be warm outside, but coach is probably like, no, I don't really want to come that far that early, do you? No?
Well, we looked last night. Of course, I was at home, so it wasn't here. But at 9 o'clock at my house last night, the heat index was still 100. So
Oh,
we couldn't
goodness.
we
Wow,
couldn't
yeah.
be in pads at 9 o'clock last night
Yeah.
in South Fulton. I don't know what it was here in Atwood, but in
It
my
was still
driveway,
it was still
so.
enough. So, well, and Jackson, one of the things that we want to talk about is, and I asked this to every senior, and then I'm going to turn around and I'm going to talk with the guy right next to you about the same thing. So, coming into this, of course, this is your senior year. You've only had him. This is his third year with you. So, what is Coach Morris? What has he kind of meant to you throughout these years? And what do you feel like is that number one thing that he's been kind of leading you and kind of showing you and helping you point the others in the right direction, since now you're kind of in that senior leadership role?
Can I be honest?
Take it easy.
Take it easy, he said.
Well, honestly, at first, me and Coach Morris, we butted heads a little bit,
Yeah.
honestly. But I think that made us better as a relationship later on. We're
Yeah.
good for each other. We build each other up. You know what I mean? Characters. I think Coach Morris, I don't know, explain this. He knows when I'm not being the leader I can be, and
Right.
he helps bring that leader out of me
Right.
and my teammates around me.
Right.
He's good at realizing when people are being black holes and when we're not being the leaders we can be, and he pushes us to be better people. He expects a lot out of us.
And I kind of seen some of that firsthand. We didn't do any kind of a broadcast for the Jamboree, but I was there taking pictures and stuff on the sideline, and I seen one time. I mean, I don't remember exactly what was said, but you come over to him, and he's like, "Man, Coach, I got it," and he pumped you up, and everything was good, and he's like, "I got it," and I mean, the next play, it was lights out, everything was good, and so it seemed like y'all kind of pump each other up, as you go, and so, Coach, same thing for you. What has kind of been some of the number one things for Jackson that you've seen that really instills that leadership role, for the rest of the team and stuff?
He asked, can you be honest? And 100% honesty is always one thing we talk about, whether it's what you want to hear or not. It's be honest. And honestly, he is right. Our first year and even kind of going into the second year, we butted heads quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I do believe I'll tell it to anybody. And Jackson Mims has grown me more as a coach and as just an adult, because of things that we had to endure through with our relationship and building what it is now and kind of where it's going now. And so I there's a lot of things that I've learned over the last going on 3 years now from him that, when I reflect and I look back, and if I had not had to work with Jackson or a kid like Jackson, I may not have learned as quick as I did. So I'll never be able to tell him everything that he's allowed me to grow by being around him and him being in my life. But I tell you, Jackson is one. Here's one thing that I learned, and it took me a long time to learn about Jackson. Jackson just wants to be told what it is on the cuff, and he's and it's going to carry him a long way in his life. He wants to know the why. He's not just okay with being told this or expecting that. Like, he wants to, and to some it comes across as kind of like disrespectful, and but it's not. That's not what he's meaning it as. He wants to know as much as he possibly can.
I'm the same way.
And
really,
it's going to carry him very far in whatever he does. And I, like I said, I wouldn't be what I'm doing right now and wouldn't be how I am right now if it wasn't for him beside me. And now, just kind of like at the Jambo, he I know what you're talking about. He came to the Jambo and said, "Man, this is a lot more than I'm used to doing." And I think he ended up getting a little sick there at the heat in the Jambo. But now there's a different type of relationship now that I have with Jackson that if you'd asked me this time 2 years ago, and probably the same for him, if we'd asked this 2 years ago, would we have this? And I think both of us would have said no. And he's going to be successful, and he's handling a lot more than most should, better than a lot do.
Yeah.
And I know that's a lot of vagueness there,
No,
but it's the leader that he's been forced to become because of the roles that he's in now. Most would just wash their hands of it and not even attempt to blaze a new trail. And I hate to use Gibson. I just use Gibson County's hashtag. I didn't even mean to, but he's been forced in some situations where he's had to make some decisions, and he's made them on his own.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I credit to him. What he's doing now, he decided to do these things based off situations that he's in and what he's doing for his team and then the things he talks about and being a better leader and all those things. Those are all decisions that, yeah, we've talked about those things, but he has to make those decisions. I can't make that for him. And, he's decided to. And so I'm extremely proud of what he's doing and how he's doing it and what he's going about. And yes, I'll always have high standards for him and any other senior that sits out here, that any other senior that comes through here and freshman, I'm going to have high standards. And I tell them all the time, I'm never going to apologize for that. I'm never going to apologize for having high standards. But the growth Jackson has shown in the last 6 to 7 months, not just as a football player, but as a young man, I could not be more proud of than what I see.
And, you kind of back up a little bit and you talk about those first moments. Y'all both admitted it, that you probably clashed, a lot probably at the very first of it. And, there's been so many times in my life, there's been so many people, I probably can't even remember them all, that sometimes you have to really clash with them to become really good friends or, get around some things. And so, maybe that was one of those things that was needed. And, then you can turn around and be like, man, that was for a reason. That was for maybe teaching me something different or whatever. And then one of the things that Jackson, that he just kind of mentioned is some of your different roles and stuff. What is some of your thoughts about, we went from, quarterback, and then now you've got some different roles and stuff in this year, in your senior year. How is that helping you kind of be more diverse and more well-rounded, playing different spots in different areas, and whether it's offense or defense? How is that kind of molding you as a person and kind of helping you out and getting that variety, I guess, for lack of better terms?
I think it teaches me now and later in life how to handle adversity as you should. My sophomore year, I didn't want no part of defense. You can ask him. I hated defense.
Yeah.
He'd say, defense, come on. I'm like, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to do my own drills. But now I love defense. I love receiver. And I don't know, it helps you become a better man, like earlier in life, being through this adversity.
Kind of keeps you that well-rounded situation. And Adam, you can kind of compound on this just a little bit too. I remember Friday night, there was one play. I mean, it was like, dude is gone. And then next thing you know, here comes Jackson Mim and just nails him out of bounds. I'm like, dang, dude, where did Mims come from, out of that?
That's true.
And, I kind of remember back on that.
I think a key word he just said there, and I don't even think he might. He's a very smart kid. Adversity. And Jackson has gone through more adversity than I think he was expecting at where he's at right now.
Yeah.
And I continue to sing praises on how he's handling it and what he's doing, and it's not easy. And some situations that he's been in is not easy at all. But he shows up with that smile, and he cracks his jokes, and he's going to make you laugh, and he's going to do those things, and he's going to come to work, and he's going to learn X and Z, and he's going to learn H, and he's going to learn corner, and he's going to learn strong and weak safety, and he's going to learn those things. And for him to do that through the adversity that he's faced, again, it's going to serve him well moving forward, because he's learning right now how to handle that adversity, and he's made these decisions that I'm going to control what I'm going to do, and moving forward. And it might not be exactly what I want, but I'm going to continue to make decisions to do the best.
Too.
Well, yeah, the team and the best of his situation as well, and balancing both. And so again, I'm proud of the growth that he's shown, and he's going to continue to show, and it's going to serve him well moving on into adulthood, whatever he does after high school.
Right.
Jackson, talk about the impact you can make on the freshmen on this team.
I think I set a good example to where when things get bad, you don't just stop. I'll tell you, I had an injury to my shoulder, and I could have had surgery back when I found out in December, but I decided not to. I decided to push through and play my senior year. So I think that sets a good example for freshmen. Like, I've been a quarterback my whole life, and when I was told I couldn't play quarterback, I was upset about it, but I didn't stop there. I kept on going. So I think that sets a good example to freshmen, how to handle that. Like, don't just give up at first thought.
Right. And we'll come back here in just a minute and talk about, because he mentioned after school and after high school and stuff. But I know there's a guy in this room that has kind of snuck in on us here a few minutes ago, and that's your dad. What is some of the roles that, even outside, off the field, outside of school and stuff? What are some of the roles that your dad Jared has kind of instilled in you? And I mean, he was the junior high football coach up until this year, and I'm sure he's kind of coached you, whether it's on the field, in school, at home. What is some kind of the influence and stuff that you really kind of key on coming from your dad?
Well, my dad's the reason I got into playing football. So when I have a problem or a situation, I can find it in him. And I feel like he always gives the best advice for me as a man and as a player to do better. He's influential into my leadership skills, my playing skills. Fifth grade year, I told him I'm going to be quarterback, and he stayed me in the yard every day and threw with me. That's how I became the quarterback I was. Yeah. So, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure Jared has been very influential in not only your life and a lot of others. And we talked about that a little bit earlier, Coach. Like Friday night especially. I mean, these freshmen, my gosh, they come in here. I know this is a senior spotlight, but these freshmen come in here and showed out. And I feel like Jared has had some aspects and some coaching and some teaching for those guys, all these years, and then kind of turn them over to you and let them roll.
Mm-hmm. Well, not just that. Coach Mims from the day one I got here has been, as you said, influential in my life. Excuse me, in my life, and getting me, kind of up to speed here, and being that that person to go to as to learn the ropes and everything, and him and Miss Jenny, his wife, and their family, and then Jackson, and so Jackson's blessed with a very, very good support system that he has with his parents and his family, and they're tight and they're close, and that's something that he's going to need moving through life, and I don't have any worries with that for him, and as he grows older, he'll appreciate that more and more and more. But he has a great support system at home, and they want the best for him, and they'll do anything they can to for him to have the best that he possibly can.
Right. And you may not know the answer to these next couple of questions, but what are some of the things that you're looking for beyond high school? Do you already have some plans where you're going? I got a feeling I may know, but I don't know. But so let us insight some of your future plans. After high school, do you plan on playing more football? What college? What are you kind of looking at after high school?
Well, I want to go into either like Memphis or UTK for electrical engineering. That's my passion. I like it. I like
that.
Math.
Was not where I was thinking on that. I look over here and Dad's like, "Wait a minute, is he not going to LSU down there?" So y'all a big LSU fan, so
no, I'm gonna stay in state because out of state's too expensive. But I'm still looking to play college football.
Right.
Rhodes is gonna may give me opportunity to play there, depending on how my injury heals up.
Right.
But that's always in my corner. But if that fails, I got electrical engineering. I'll fall back on.
And is the electrical engineering something that you have kind of always had that passion and kind of looking for that, or?
Not really. It started about 2 months ago. I was looking in the degrees, opportunities, and stuff, and electrical engineering. I like it.
Hey, it's good stuff. I mean, there's always, just like Cayman Electric, life is better with power. So I mean, everybody's going to need power at some point in time. So. Well, Jackson, I appreciate you joining us, and good luck in everything that you're doing going forward after high school. In this senior year, enjoy it, and no matter what position you play it with all your heart and enjoy. And one thing that I always kind of leave the seniors with: keep God first in your life, and He will lead you in every direction that you need to be led, and seek Him, and He won't point you in the wrong direction. I promise you that. So thank you, Jackson. Appreciate you joining us. And so Jackson Mims right there, our senior spotlight player. And I feel like my special guest has left. So thank you, Jackson. We were going to have a special guest, and she has ran amok. So, but Miss Brittany Fowler, we were going to grab her on here and talk with her just a few minutes kind of about some of this team night and this player night and stuff. So, I mean, Jared, he can come in here and fill in if he wants to, but you want to fill in? You want to be my special guest? Hey, come on over here. We'll get Jared up here and let him talk just a hot minute. So, and then we'll talk about this coming up Friday. I mean, we're sitting here going to play Harding Academy here at home, and it's definitely going to be a different deal. So we'll get you Jared on here real quick, and
surprise special guest,
special
like,
guest,
legitimately a surprise
Yeah,
special
surprise
guest.
special
Like,
guest.
Am I on? There's an open
You are.
mic, and you're asking me.
Right. They
I'm
just
gonna
jump
hop
in. Yeah. So you were sitting here, Jared. You were listening to everything that Jackson said. What is some of the stuff that you feel like personally that you have impacted Jackson in, maybe some specific areas and stuff, in your past?
Man, I will say this. Can I speak honestly about all we've been through? It's okay. Yeah. So a lot of people don't know. It has been very, very tough for us. Jackson first noticed his shoulder issue back in May, I believe. We went through some tests and all kinds of stuff. If you look back, and he was right. I mean, 5th grade, this little scrawny kid says, "Dad, I want to play quarterback." I'm like, "Jenny, he wants to play quarterback." I'm like, "Jesus, we got to work." Right?
You got work to do.
And I told him that, but he did, right? And he was one of those guys that would I'd come home from work like, "Man, I'm tired." Back then I was still doing the morning show, and I was like, "Man, I get up in a little bit."
You got to get up at the crack of dawn.
You go, "Let's go throw." I'm like, "All right, let's do it." So we go throw, and listen, we're both alphas, I guess, in some ways. So there's some nights where it'd be like this, like if it wasn't going as well. But he was committed and kept growing and growing and growing. And I started thinking, man, I think this kid can probably do this. So, Coach Morris's first year with Jackson was back up then, and then he was taking steps in the right direction, and we were really looking forward to this season. He developed quite a bit, and I think Coach Morris would agree. At the end of last year, going into February, March, he was really kind of hitting his stride, both throwing the ball, but also running. Like, he would have been, we think made a good impact there.
Yeah.
And then it was this thing that lingered, and then it really kind of, I think it was during spring ball when we had one diagnosis in March. It wasn't the right thing. Then mid-May, we kind of got the right diagnosis. And at that point, it was a torn labrum, right? And at that point, recovery for that after surgeries, you're looking at 9 months to a year.
Yeah.
So he said, I remember in the doctor's office, and I remember Jackson getting emotional, and I was emotional, and Jenny couldn't get off work that day. And so I was like, my God, man. And so we had to make a choice right then. And, he said he wanted to play, and we had a plan to try to get back to quarterback, but it just didn't quite, pan out to have a chance to play that role. But I say all that to say that I don't think I could have done what he's done at that age.
Yeah.
Right. I couldn't face something like that and be as adult and as measured, right? And as just calm about it. I mean, yeah, we've had moments. I mean, it's been, it's been tough. I'm not going to lie about that. He knows this too. I've been very honest with him throughout the whole process. I mean, just last week in your office, we're talking about it.
Right.
It sucks. But he's handled it really well. And Coach Morris, we talked, I think it was in summer after dead period. He's like, man, he's just starting. No, it was back in early summer. He's like, man, he just said, Coach, I want to play receiver. I want to do something. I can't just stay in here. So that's when he started doing more and more things to realize that he may be able to contribute in some other role. And that's where we are. Right. So I know at that age, and you talked about that age too, we probably would have folded our tents and just said, man, I'm just going to get the surgery. I'm going to just, enjoy it and do what I can do. But that's not him. And so you asked the question. That was a long answer to get to this point. But, I deal with things in my life professionally, personally. And, I've always been amazed at my kids with how grounded they are compared to what I may be, even to this day, right? How I see things, and I don't see the bigger picture. I don't see, a way out of certain situations like he has done.
Yeah.
I mean, so, think about, from his perspective, where he was back in May, right?
Yeah.
Everything I worked for may not happen at all now.
Yeah.
Right. And he could have easily said, hey, Coach, I'm going to get the scalpel. I'm going to help you. I'll be on the sidelines. But he chose to stay and play and still tries to work to do something in the quarterback realm. But again, that's, who knows with what his recovery is and all. But yeah, I mean, so I just feel like, we have a great support system at home. We have a very loving family, not only me and Jenny and our other boys, but also, her parents. And as much as I've, joke about them, but they've been great. But in the end, he's the one that's making these decisions. He's the one that's committing to doing other things. He's the one that's committed to the growth and kind of working past the issues that he's had. So, I mean, I know that everybody has a story.
Yeah.
And everybody deals with something. Right. And that's his story. And I know that's only his story. And other people on the team have got their own issues, whether it's health wise, whether it's, personal life, whatever it is. Sure. Right. But from what I've seen from him, it's hard to put into words how proud we are of how he's reacted to this, because a lot of people like this, and even me, I admit it, I wouldn't be able to do what he's done. I'm just being
And
honest.
it's easier to talk about it now because I can't just say, to talk about situations, but I don't tell very many people what the situation is because it's not my place.
He's been very vague about it, right?
To tell, and I don't want people to think my vagueness is because of I don't care. I want to be an open book about how proud I am of what Jackson has decided to do on his own and how he's handled it. But I can't. I just can't talk about his situation. If he wants to, and Coach Mims and Miss Jenny, if they want to, that's their business, and I'll piggyback off of it. But now that it's out there, I hope that it resonates with how proud I am of him because of the decisions that he's made. Because not everybody realized the situation that he was in when he was in it, and that decision to do receiver and DB back in early summer, 100,000% Jackson Mims. It was never a thing that came out of my mouth or Coach Dixon or Coach Dolan's. It was just one day he came, and I told Jared, he came one day and he said, Coach, do you think I can help us out there at receiver? Because at that point in time, we didn't have a whole lot of people out there outside of the four that we had. And I said, well, go out there and sure, started as giving somebody a rep, off after they just ran a long round, and then it kept working. The same thing defensively. And I say all that to say this and kind of piggybacking off what Jared said. The way he's handled this adversity, I don't think I could have. And the way he's gone about it. And yes, our relationship is stronger now than it ever has been, and that's typical for over the years. But where it started to where it is now, and then as I'm watching him handle this, and he has bad days, he has good days. We all do when we're dealing with struggles, every single one of us. And if we say we don't, then we're lying to ourselves and everybody else. But he comes to work, and he comes to for his friends, his team, and he's there, and it's going to pay off for him. And I know Jared sees that, and I know Miss Jenny sees that, and he's going to look back at this one day in his adult life and say, those lessons that I learned through that is going to carry me as a husband, as a father, as a business owner, as an employee, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
He's learning that at a younger age now, which is putting him ahead of the curve in whatever he wants to do. I can't say enough how proud I am of him because he could have just
folded
in his most important year, which is what he's worked for since before the 5-year or the fifth grader wanted to court. We want this to be the top of every West Carroll kid. Like, be a senior on the West Carroll football team. That's what we want for this. And he could have just thrown his hands up his senior year and said, I'm not doing this anymore. And he didn't. And not only did he not, he just continually shows up and works with the best attitude that he possibly can on any given day. And I'm proud of him. I really am proud of him, and I always will be.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's thank you, Jared, for joining us and chit-chatting about that a little bit. And let's look ahead at Friday night. First home game of the year. We got Harding Academy coming in here from, where are they from? Memphis?
Memphis. I don't know exactly where. Don't know exactly Memphis, where, but
yeah. So let's talk about that a little bit, and Adam, you can kind of chime in there as well. So we'll figure out the times when it comes down the pike if it's going to be anything different, but we'll study on that later. But let's talk about that. What are we kind of looking at for Harding Academy on Friday night?
Go ahead. I've done a little research.
Well, go ahead with your research, man. Lead the way.
I've just seen a little bit of video, but not clips, but just one or two plays here I found from last year, which I know that's last year, but it's better than nothing. But I saw a little bit of passing game, strong run up the gut. They're going to be pretty dynamic. It's going to be a test, I think.
Yep, no doubt. It's going to be a test. They of course they're a private school out of Memphis, so they do have a couple of kids on that team this year that were not on there last year, and they're some good players.
That's what I thought.
And they're
good
dynamic.
athletes.
Yes, they've got some good athletes. Seven's a good inside linebacker and running back for them. One can flat out fly. He's just really fast.
Shutout win in week one. They had 36-0.
36-0, and they're Memphis Kirby.
Memphis.
Okay. They're really good at running counters out of the spread. So
they're on the same winning high as we are right now.
No,
so
that's right.
that's
right.
But
they do GT counter really well. The back hits it up in there. He does what he's supposed to do. And
so talk a little bit about containment.
It's not just last week and there is going to be some containment, and they put number 1 back there, try to get him on fly sweeps and different things. But it's going to be the fits. When we see the guard and tackle pull, or our linebackers getting where they're supposed to be, are we trailing? Are we doing what we're supposed to do? Is the box fits good? Our box fits were good last week. They have to be good this week. It's going to be a dynamic threat. They're a spread team that run counters well and can run the ball well, and
they don't mind throwing it.
No, they don't. They don't.
Yeah.
They don't.
And how good is that to have a team like this that's going to be? I thought Gibson County was fairly dynamic. They threw the ball 11 times, but I could be wrong, but I personally think Hardin Academy is going to throw it. Maybe it 10 to 15. I guess it's going to depend if they have to.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It depends on the flow of the game. They can, and if they need to. I still think that they're probably like most teams in week 1. They're still trying to figure out certain things, where people play, how they fit in best.
Their identity.
And everybody kind of does that in the first week. And so, but one thing is guaranteed: they have athletes. They've got athletes, and they can get out in space. If they get out in space, it's going to be tough, and we can't let that happen. And then on defense, they just play downhill fast. Their linebackers are up in there. They're 4-2, 4-4 type defense, and the linebackers are tight down in the box in those A and B gaps, and they're going, and they read well at the line of scrimmage. One thing that popped out to me watching film, they're playing at 1.5 yards or so off the line of scrimmage, but they get good reads. They make right reads, and that's tough, linemen, to do that. So we're going to have to be really good with communicating up front, and really just kind of keep our eyes up and not get to staring at grass.
All right, let's talk about your top 3 Cayman Electric powers to succeed going into this week.
Again, being on Tuesday, it's a little early in the thought process, but it's
tough.
still there's some things that are.
I'm the one that chose Tuesday.
Well,
just messing with you.
And again, we
it worked out.
It does work out because it's our long work day.
We kid because we care.
It's our long work day with the kids, and they get fed and they're here and everything else. But first and foremost is going to be communication on the offense, seeing what they give us, eyes up, and adjusting to the pressure that they're going to bring. They're going to bring some pressure. They're going to be downhill. They're going to get after it. Their outside linebackers are going to get in the face of our slot receivers, and they're going to do things. That's going to happen. And we have to have our eyes up and be able to communicate what we're seeing, not just let somebody come right through the A-gap untouched at our freshman quarterback. That can't happen. It just cannot happen in any realm. Number 2, clean up special teams, especially kickoff. No momentum swings on kickoff or punt coverage just because we're not getting down the field. If they have a Devin Hester that can just make all 11 miss at her full speed, so be it. But I haven't seen that yet. And then number 3, defensively, is going to be communicating who's in the backfield when. There's some major things that we're seeing that we want to do based off who's playing what position. They again, I think they're still trying to figure out their best kind of combination of quarterbacks and running backs. And when they put certain individuals certain places, our focus needs to shift on who we want to have the ball and their read things and when it's GT counter and all those things. So again, communication, eyes up, not staring at the grass. The grass isn't going to tell you things. Look and see who's where. So those are going to be my 3 keys.
Well, communication is not just important; it's everything.
That's exactly right.
It's everything.
Exactly right.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. We're going to step away. We're going to take a quick 30-second break. We'll come back and wrap it all in a bow and point you in the right direction coming up on Friday night. So back in a moment on Talons Out Live on the War Eagle Radio Network. Are you looking for the best knowledge about H2O? Call Rogers Hydrant Service Incorporated. At Rogers Hydrant Service, they focus on building strong relationships with each of their customers to ensure every experience is the best that it can be. With over 125 years of combined experience in water treatment and distribution, they can help you achieve the best results from your water distribution system. Call Rogers Hydrant Service.
It's clean.
At 662.
It's cold.
7300.
Now that's what I call high quality H2O.
Welcome back live on the War Eagle Radio Network. Talons Out Live, presented by Rogers Hydrant Service. So a good victory on week 1. We've kind of broke all that down and talked about that a little bit. And as we just mentioned a few minutes ago, you've got us and Harding Academy both that coming off a high of a win, a victory, and it's just going to be a good ball game, I believe, on Friday night. I think it's going to be a pretty good clash of.
Yeah, it's going to be hot, and they got a long road trip, but they'll be prepared. They'll be ready to play. They're going to do a lot of things to try to challenge us. And again, I think we got to weather the storm to the second half. We got to get in the second half of the game and see if we can outlast them. One thing we do have that they don't is we have more depth. And there's not very many times we can say that. And so we do have more depth than them, and in the heat that could play a factor. So can we withstand the storm to the second half and kind of do what we did with Gibson County and just outlast there in the second half. So I think it's going to be a good night. I think it's going to be a good night for us to kind of figure out ourselves and continue to control what we can control and see if we can't rip another one off and be 2-0.
Yeah, that'd be some good stuff to look at. One quick thing I want to mention. We're not sure about if the time's going to be moved back, so check out War Eagle Radio Network Facebook page, also the Touchdown Club Facebook page. And also, we want everybody to come out on Friday night and cheer on your team. And if you come out to the ball game, get you a ticket after 9 p.m., whenever the ball game's kind of winding down and getting done and getting over with, after 9 p.m., you can take that ticket over to Clay Hill Motorsports Park, and you can get in a half price at Clay Hill and watch some of the USCS sprint cars. So that'll be a pretty good little show. They got them over there both Friday and Saturday night. So, but after 9 p.m., hold on to your ticket if you come to the ball game, and then you can get in half price at Clay Hill Motorsports Park. So that's something to look forward to. So, been good stuff, Adam.
Hey, it's always a good show.
Hey, ready to rock and roll? Let's make it happen again on Friday night.
Fly high.
Hometown Grocery Deli pregame show, hopefully at 6:30, kickoff, hopefully at 7 o'clock, and we'll make an adjustment and talk about that on Facebook if that's pushed back because of this crazy heat wave that we got going on this week. So, Coach Morris, thanks again. Appreciate it. Appreciate Jackson
it.
Mims and Jared, our guest, and everything's good. So we'll talk about it again on Friday night here on the War Eagle Radio Network. You've been listening to Talons Out Live. I hope everybody has a good night, and we'll talk to you on Friday night on the War Eagle Radio Network. Tonight's broadcast on the War Eagle Radio Network is brought to you under exclusive radio rights granted by West Carroll High School to the Tennessee Internet Broadcasting Company, solely for the private non-commercial use of our listening audience. Any publication, reproduction, or the use of the descriptions and accounts of this event without the express written consent of the Tennessee Internet Broadcasting Company and West Carroll High School is prohibited.